Hey guys, it's your boy Knicks Tape Banks coming back at it again this week with another video off the strength of the basketball gods blessing us Knicks fans with rumors of the Knicks prioritizing moving Julius Randle this offseason. That's the best Knicks news I've heard in a long time. Bless up. Alright, for you Knicks fans that don't watch Knicks games, alright, I'm letting you guys know right now, okay? A lot of you guys are looking at those stats, I know, 20 and 10, he's a double-double machine. Why are people complaining so much? Listen, that man is a turnover machine. He has very low awareness on the court and low basketball IQ, okay? Now, that doesn't mean he's not talented. Physically, he dominates guys. He's either quicker than them or he's just as strong or stronger, okay? He's a physical beast and he has tons of energy and he goes on the court and he plays with the heart of the late, great Manimal, okay? And the skill set is just slightly better. So, understand he doesn't really know how to read a defense. He's not always the most willing passer. He tends to fall into tunnel vision. So there's a reason why Knicks fans are calling for the separation of the Knicks and Julius Roly-Poly Randle, a.k.a. Young Beyblade. He is a player who I think is talented and on the right team can succeed. But I think he needs to be surrounded by a lot of shooters, and he needs someone who can take the ball out of his hands. Because if he's not deferring to someone, oftentimes he's making the wrong decision. Though, that's not to say that he has no value, so the Knicks definitely need to be aware of the fact that he has value. So the trade rumors include a trade of Julius Randle for Mike Conley and draft considerations, okay? Mike Conley, I know a lot of you guys have seen him lately on the Jazz, and you're saying that guy's washed up. Why would we want him? First of all, the Knicks have no point guard or no starting caliber point guard. And although Mike Conley has been washed up, Mike Conley is still a quality point guard. He plays defense. He knows how to pass the ball. He can hit a three-point shot. So those are things that the Knicks need. All three of those things: defense, shooting, playmaking. He'd make RJ better. He'd definitely make Mitch better. So, without a doubt, those are good things. Not to mention, he could also slide over to the side a little bit. And he could potentially be someone who is a mentor for any of our young point guards. Because he's a vet. He's been deep in the playoffs. He's faced great competition. He's, even guarded the best in KD. He's a hard-nosed player. And those are the kind of players that we want our players to be, right? But it's really the fact that that draft consideration comes in as well, and it also gives us, gives our young players a little bit of a chance to be more competitive, because it's unfair to RJ and it's unfair to Mitch and it's unfair to any of our other young guys and whoever we draft to have to continuously play on a bad team lacking everything because we're worried that this one player isn't going to fix everything. It's a step-by-step process, and we need to show free agents in the future and everyone, because a lot of people really don't want to be on the Knicks because they look at this team as a team that's losing and is okay with losing, and we need to kind of change that culture. I'm all in for youth. I have a whole playlist for our young guys, okay? But we need to start looking towards winning and how we can win and get our guys some experience in winning and closing out close games. And again, that draft consideration is nice. And if you're wondering why someone would take our turnover-prone, roly-poly Beyblade of a player, it's because he's talented, and also Mike Conley is not really working out for them. Plus, it's likely that they're going to want some cap relief. Okay, so the Knicks are in the best position out of any team in the league to provide cap relief to any other team. For a lot of you guys, I know you guys want the team to look towards more things like this, like absorbing bad contracts and receiving some draft picks in place of that. So I decided to put together a list of moves that the Knicks could do in this realm regarding Julius Randle. Okay, so we killing two birds with one stone. We take a big contract in order to be able to get some draft picks or something, a young player or anything. And we get rid of Julius Randle because he's just not a good fit on this team. Talented player, but not a good fit on this team, okay? So, let's get on with it. First off, we have OKC. OKC is in a bad space cap-wise, and honestly, they have a decent little core there. They got some good young guys with Grant, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all those young guys. They have bright futures, and they might say, hey, we're paying Chris Paul a huge amount, and we're paying Steven Adams a huge amount. Let's try to free up some cap space. So we might say, all right, you guys have like 15 or 16 draft picks over the next 6 years, okay? We're going to take some of those draft picks off your hands, and we'll take Chris Paul, and we'll give you guys Julius Randle. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say Chris Paul is worth way more than Julius Randle, but we don't know what the Thunder's owner's pocket is looking like. So he might say, hey, look, I need you guys to clear some cap space right now because we're a small market and we no longer have the draw of KD and Russell Westbrook. So let's kind of, bring this down a bit, and it might be a priority for them. So being that they're over cap space for what the cap is projected to be next year, or was projected to be next year at $115 million, and it's very possible that the cap goes down or stays the same. So these guys are going to be in cap hell, and they're going to want to make a move. So we get a vet in one of the greatest point guards of all time, in the point guard Chris Paul, CP3, and we get a draft pick. So we get somebody who can make our players better right now. We get somebody who can instill a culture in our team, a coach on the floor, somebody who can shoot, can pass, and we also get a draft pick, and we get rid of Julius Randle. So all positives right there. My number 2 scenario is, we know that the Pacers have signed Sabonis to an extension, and it's very possible that they're committing to Sabonis. They might be willing to get rid of Miles Turner just off the strength that they don't want those two fighting for minutes. So what they may choose to do is get rid of Miles Turner. The Knicks may say, hey, look, Miles Turner kind of shoots a decent percentage from 3. He knows how to really guard the paint. So you add an extra defender. You add a good young guy and someone who can possibly space the floor next to Mitch. So you might say, hey, we'll trade you Julius Randle for Miles Turner. Okay, you guys save a little bit of cap. You get somebody who, if you put him off the bench, he will definitely be very productive for you guys and give you guys the boost of offense on your bench. And we get a shooter. So let's make it happen. We can also look towards Detroit. Detroit is in that 9th spot in regards to projected cap space. So looking at guys like Christian Wood and Langston Galloway and other young guys that they have that they might look to extend this year, they might say, hey, does anybody want Blake Griffin, 8th highest paid player in that 2020 season as of right now? And he really doesn't play many games. So the Knicks say, hey, look, we'll take him. We'll take that contract off your hands, and we'll give you Julius Randle. So you're not stuck with no center, okay, or no big man. You re-sign Christian Wood, you get Julius Randle. You can either pair them together because Christian Wood can shoot, or you bring Randle off the bench, and we'll take Blake Griffin. So you guys clear some cap space. We take a pick, and we'll call it a day. Blake Griffin, he has some important history to us Knicks fans. For those of you that remember the Olympics many years ago, when Melo and Blake Griffin were playing, Blake Griffin had said Melo taught him a lot offensively. If you remember, Blake Griffin was pretty much just a dunker. Prior to that, he came back with a full offensive arsenal. He may come back and be able to show Mitch a thing or two, right? You have this crazy athleticism. Let's start working on, this is what Melo showed me with the jab step. This is what Melo showed me, with this face-up game. And maybe Mitch expands his offense a bit. Not to mention, Blake Griffin is someone who can pass the ball. He's someone who can, shoot the ball a little bit, so he wouldn't be a bad fit next to Mitch. And he would give us a vet to look towards in this season. Now, he's always injured, so don't expect him to play a bunch of minutes and be that guy that fits next to Mitch all the time. But he's someone who could definitely be a veteran presence for our guys, and definitely, show them the ropes and be a real successful vet, someone who's been an all-star, who's been a superstar. And I'd say, sure, why not? Now, this one is a bit more of a stretch, but let's say Boston says we need to clear some cap space. Even though Gordon Hayward has had one of his better seasons in his career, he also is someone who is expendable for the fact that he's getting paid so much, and maybe we can bolster some holes in our team this free agency. Add a couple shooters, add a couple defensive stoppers, whatever it is that they feel they need. Okay, the Knicks say, all right, we know you guys need a center too, so here's what we'll do for you. We'll send you Julius Randle. He can play as a small ball center, and we'll take Gordon Hayward, and we'll take either a young player or some cap space. So we take one of their young players that aren't really getting too much minutes because they're kind of buried on the bench, or we take a draft pick and we call that trade a day. That's a really good move. Adds a shooter, adds a bona fide star. He can definitely teach RJ some things, be a vet for our guys, definitely teach Knox a lot, and just really be one of those guys that gets this team going, and maybe he likes it here. We can look towards Cleveland. Cleveland is in a bad space as far as cap space goes, so we know now they have Drummond. We might say, hey, look, we'll take Drummond and we'll give you Julius Randle. Julius Randle is a good fit next to Kevin Love. He's young, so he kind of fits in with your young guys in Colin Sexton and Darius Garland and such. So we'll take Andre Drummond and we'll eat that cap space, and we'll take your pick. We'll take one of your first round picks throughout the upcoming years, and maybe we waive Drummond, maybe we trade him. I don't really want Drummond, but that's definitely something that the Knicks could look at, because Drummond is definitely an asset to some team out there, considering he provides rebounding, he provides a bit of scoring, he's pretty efficient from the field. The Knicks can also look towards Otto Porter Jr. Now, Otto Porter Jr. is essentially a role player on a huge contract. So he is essentially a 3-and-D wing who is on a All-Stars contract, and the Knicks may say, hey, look, we can use the 3-and-D wing, and we'll take a draft pick from you guys, or draft considerations or whatever, and we'll send you Julius Randle. And the Bulls are not in a terrible spot cap space wise, but they may look to add some shooters to the team or bolster some holes and say, hey, look, he can shoot, but at his price, cap space is a premium right now, and he's not really someone who produces what his contract is worth. We can get two guys who can do kind of similar things to what he did on the court this last year for his current contract. All right, guys, I hope I gave you guys some good options there, kept it interesting for you guys. I definitely think Blake Griffin would be an interesting option. Blake Griffin kind of fits perfectly in a Thibodeau offense as he's described what he wants to do. He's said, look at the Warriors and most other top-tier offenses in the league. They all have somebody who can get that ball in the pinch post, pass down to cutters, or pass out to shooters. And we know Blake Griffin, he's a great passer, good ball handler and stuff. So that definitely may be an option the Knicks consider, although I wouldn't necessarily be mad with any of these options. There's tons more that you guys may be able to come up with. These are just a couple that I saw really quickly by looking at players that are on too high of a contract. Make sure you guys go into the comments. Let me know what you guys think. What are some options that you guys think of? Maybe some things I didn't think of. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you love Julius Randle? Do you hate him? Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Hit the bell. Peace.